your co-host, Santy Hernandez.
So today's show is going to be a very hard topic to talk about, but we both feel like it's important to talk about it and to make sure we're able to know like what we can do as youth people and what we can do to help those who went through this situation and what we can do to prevent the school shooting that has happened. So we are planning to talk about the school shooting that just happened recently in Texas. So if you're a bit sensitive right now, just wanted to give you a warning that we'll be talking about that. And I just wanted to mention that there has been a ton more school shooting that has happened recently. And it's just, this one has been a large amount of students being killed. And this is not including like the mass shootings that have happened recently, like the Buffalo, like what Santy has mentioned in New York. But there is, besides the one in Robb Elementary School, there has been one in May 19th, just like 3 days ago, or 4 days before the mass school shooting in Texas. So that one was in East Kenwoods High School. And there was another one on the same day, but in Louisiana, and 3 people were hospitalized. And then there was another one May 18th and May 17th. So as you can see, there's like a ton of people like from different states that's going on, that there's like school shootings. So it's not something it's not something that should be normal at all. It's something that we need to like control, and it's just, I don't know, it doesn't feel right at all how like all these school shootings are like increasing the amount of how frequently it's happening. And it's just really sad. And like in the Buffalo, we have mentioned about the Buffalo supermarket shooting. That was another mass shooting that was not in school, but it took like 10 deaths, 10 people, 10 lives. So it's just a lot that has been going on, that we wanted to keep youth aware of what's been going on recently. And Santy will discuss like, is it increasing our school shooting, and more about that.
Thank you, Anali, for the introduction. I know it's hard to talk about gun violence specifically. It's a very controversial topic. So to our viewers, our goal with the show is to bring awareness and share facts about gun violence, and you do what you need to do to use that to help prevent and stop these events from reoccurring. Sadly, the shooting at Robb Elementary School is not the first or the second or the third shooting. It's one of many shootings in schools. And this to me is really touched me, because I have an 8-year-old brother, and the fact that these kids that passed away are within his age range, it breaks my heart, because they are innocent children who haven't had their voices being heard, and haven't had their own their lives haven't really started yet with what they wanted to do. So it's really hard, and to the families that are going through this, from Robb Elementary and all the other schools and shootings that have happened, sending prayers and love. I know that sounds like it's nothing, but really our energies, if we come together, those families need that right now. And one of the questions that I had when Robb Elementary shooting was all over social media, TikTok, mainly TikTok and Instagram, I had a question that came up in my head was, has there been an increase or decrease of school shootings in the US? And so an interesting fact that I found was that the US has had 2,032 school shootings since 1970, and these numbers are increasing. Alarmingly, 948 school shootings have taken place since the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School in December 2012. And as you all know, in the history of school shooting, Sandy Hook Elementary was considered the biggest school shooting that has happened. Robb Elementary is now in the top of school shootings that have happened. And when I saw the number, 2,032 school shootings have happened, and it's increasing instead of decreasing. As a youth, as someone who, in my youth, I was 18 years old when I first understood what a shooting was, a school shooting, because of the Florida high school shooting that happened. And now I'm 2 years later, 20 years old, and it's elementary kids. And within those timeframes, there was so many shootings, and it's so hard to understand that to me. Like, it doesn't make sense to me how that has happened.
I also want to add, saying like in like high school, like I didn't really know about, like in school they would tell us like you would have to like lay flat on the floor if there's a school shooting. I'm not sure if they said that to you too, like how to prepare if there is someone coming in, an active shooter. And like I remember in elementary school, they only prepared me to do like the earthquake drill, if there was like a tornado or a tsunami. And it's just crazy how now kids have to like prepare to if there's an active shooter, they have to prepare like what to do to be safe and like stay alive, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No, thank you for adding that. And I think that's very important for all of us to understand that these are, to me, it seems that it's being more, how do I say this where it doesn't come out the wrong way? Instead of stopping this, we're just figuring out ways how to avoid from being injured in a shooting, which the reality of it in my eyes is that shouldn't happen at a school, especially at a school. The fact that I was telling this with my parents is, one is working as a parent. I see my parents working, and they're not just working because they want to work. They want to work. They're working for us to eat, for us to have a shelter in our heads. And I can't imagine you getting a phone call in the middle of the day and say, "Hey, you got to come because this happened." And that to me is insane, and it's crazy. So, has there been a decrease in shootings in America, specifically in the US? No, there hasn't. It continues to increase. And as you can tell with the Robb Elementary, which is being shown everywhere, it's a very tragic and horrible situation. These kids were murdered. And as hard as that sounds, that's the reality of it. With that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Anali, who's going to talk to us more about how many guns are there in the US.
Yeah, so I was looking up how many guns there are in the US, and it says a third of all the civilian guns in the world are in hands of Americans. So they've counted that in 2018 there was like around 390 million guns in circulation. But we're in 2022, so there's a ton of people more holding guns. And as you can see through like past histories of school shooting, there's been a lot of youth who are the ones who are active shooters in these traumatic situations. So there is a lot more guns in the US than you think. And Santy, do you know like how many guns related injuries are there in the US.
Yes, so I searched this up, and specifically around school shootings. So as a reminder, we're not including all of for example, the Vegas shooting that happened a few years ago. We're just specifically talking about school shootings. And I do want to mention another fact about how many guns are there in the US. So an estimate about 4.6 million American children live in a home where at least one gun is kept loaded and unlocked. These improperly stored weapons have contributed to school shootings, suicides, and deaths of family members, including infants and toddlers. So that is an interesting fact when we're talking about the guns that are in the US. So when it comes to children and youth, each day around 12 children and above die from gun violence in America, and another 32 are shot and injured. This is insane to me, because me thinking about just today, 12 kids die from gun violence in America, and it's not, it's just really hard for me to express my thoughts on that, because it's absolutely crazy. But that's just the number for children. Imagine if we included all of the other adults in this number.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount to think about this, especially like here in California. Like, at least for me, like, I've never seen like gunshots as much as people who live in Texas or in the southern countries. I've heard people who lived in Texas, they said it's like a very different environment, because like I've heard like just someone like crossing down your yard or like going in the backyard of your house, they would like shoot them. So it's like very different environments in different different states, I mean. So it's just crazy to think about it, since I like live in California. So, but like, as you can see, that it's happening in Texas and all these states, southern states. But there is, not to mention that there was like school shootings in California as well. To move forward, I wanted to talk about how youth can help prevent school shootings. One thing we can focus on is preventing, from this whole thing to start with, is the shooter. So a lot of them have mental illnesses, or they're not feeling heard, and most of them are angry during that time where they're shooting. So one thing to do to reduce this from happening is reduce day-to-day aggression. So some people are very aggressive, so just like helping them reduce their aggression from day to day, little by little, can make a difference. And if you're like, if you see a friend or see like your daughter or son like being in isolation, try to decrease that, because isolation can cause a reduction in problem solving skills and communication skills. So it's important for kids to talk it out of what they're feeling, like what exactly what me and Santy are doing right now. We're expressing how we feel of the situation that has happened, and like, you should always check in with a friend and just talk things out, because that's really important, and know that you're not alone. And then also like close gaps in mental health services. If the kid needs help with something, like make sure like you make sure you feel heard, and make sure the person, like your friends, are feeling heard. And it's always important to check in with your friends or people around you, not even your friends, just people who are isolated or like have a tough time talking to other people, or they're avoided because they're very aggressive, just be safe, but like also like check in with people. And yeah, do you have any other ideas, Santy?
When it comes to preventing, I think it's really, over the years, we've always kind of gave options or ways that people can prevent shootings, but it keeps happening, which is really sad. And I think that if you hear, one of the things that I've, from every reading and kind of studying the shootings, school shootings, I read that one way a shooting could have been prevented was if you saw someone in a situation where they didn't seem okay, and instead of keeping it quiet, bringing it up to people who can check in on that person. Because there are warning signs that it's very hard to tell, to be honest, at times. So if you just feel like someone's going through a hard time, just knowing that you telling someone so that they can get help is very helpful. And also, besides bringing, I know social media has been a very useful tool these days, especially for the generations that are here now. Everything is through social media, and these shootings have been more reached out throughout the country, because back in the day, like I said, I started hearing about school shootings when I was 18, because that's when I started using my social media a lot more, and I got videos and of families and the situation, what was happening, which was really good, because it brought me to really understand and gain awareness of what's happening. And that has led to students walking out of class protesting against, protesting for more restrictions when purchasing a gun, having stricter laws regarding guns, because they disagree, or they don't understand how it's so easy for someone to access a weapon that can kill someone instantly. So bringing awareness is a very important thing, and that, so social media has given us an opportunity to bring awareness. And a lot of students that I know and that were in class with me started speaking up. I know that there was a couple of students in my school that arranged a walkout for many different, not just gun violence, and so many other things. And that does play a huge effect in bringing awareness to help and bring attention to the situation. Unfortunately, although this has been continuing, a lot of walkouts, it's progress. The progress that we're seeing is very small, but again, the more voices are put together, we work together, over time, things can change for better. And that's, at least that's my biggest hope. And with that being said, what are some signs of an attacker or shooter that one can see? Is something that I also have had questions on. So Anali, if you would lead us to that.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention that like my school in high school, they also did like they took time out of the school to honor those who like lost their lives in this mass shooting in high school. I don't remember. I think it was in Florida, I believe. And I remember being there. I think I was like a freshman, and I was like surprised how well, like also glad that they were able to do this type of ceremony, and like have that time and space to really think of what happened in Florida or wherever it happened. But it did bring awareness to a lot of high school students, and realize like the impacts of what happens to survivors and to like the families who have lost the lives of their kids. But like some warning signs of the attacker, there was like there was a study between 2000 and 2013 that the FBI has made, just tracking the pre-attack behaviors of the active shooter. And there is like more than 55% of the school shooters made threats to a teacher. So that's one warning sign. Another warning sign is that they showed signs of thinking to do suicide. 90% of them thought of doing suicide, and then 23% actually attempted suicide. And 88% of active shooters are under the age of 17, and they communicate that they committed violence either verbally on social media. So if you see that on social media, make sure to report. And if you see any of these warning signs, just help report so they can seek help. And if there are threatening a teacher, it's something that should be taken serious. For me, my school, they had a student who threatened a staff member, and my school took it serious, and we had a lockdown. So it's if you take things seriously, like, you save people's lives, and it's important to help them seek help as well too. But real quick, I just want to give an announcement that the Clean Slate program in Marin County is a walk-in clinic that helps clean up criminal record, clean your juvenile record, housing assistant, adult education programs, and more. This clinic will take place on June 1st from 4 to 7 p.m. on Multicultural Center Marin, located at 709 5th Avenue, San Rafael, California, 94901. You can text Marin to 741-741 for free, confidential, 24/7 support that carries both English and Spanish. With that announcement, there's a lot of resources in Marin that helps people mentally. We talked so much programs that there is in Marin that helps with housing assistance, and mental health. There should be people taking advantage of this, just so that you can help yourself, and once you're able to help yourself, you're able to help others. So use that if you need assistance. And then going off of what I was saying before, it's important to know that trauma is real, and it's just hard to think of the kids who are gonna be like sleeping and then remember that what just happened in school, and it's just really sad that they have to go through this. And I've heard like kids can feel guilty of being a survivor, and it's really hard to deal with that. But Santy, do you have any words on that?
On trauma, yes, everybody, I think everybody has their own traumas. I know I learned that some of them consider them traumas, shadows, or things that you carry in your back. We all have those, and I think that's something that we're not usually taught at school, and we forget that everybody else experiences trauma, and we think that it only happens to us, and we get into a depression, and sometimes we can make decisions that hurt us or hurt others. So what the sad reality that I see is that this incident isn't just it happened, you bury all of these people and it's over. No, all of the survivors, the families, carry this until they pass, and it's a cycle of continued trauma, and it's really sad. So I definitely, aside from laws that help prevent gun violence, we also have to remember how we can provide support to those families and ourselves when we need it, when we're in a depression or when we're having a hard time. Because when we're having a hard time, again, we have these negative thoughts that when you're in a good state of mind, you wouldn't think them. But because you're in a hard time, those come up and it's really hard. So I do want to give a website out for anyone who wants to find out more ways they can help with preventing gun violence with school shootings. You can go to actionfund.sandyhookpromise.org and you can sign petitions, you can volunteer, and there's so much information about school shootings and how you can help and to help, how you can help to prevent those shootings. And yeah, and this is like an awful question that we have to put on the show, but it's how can youth protect themselves when there is a school shooting? I say awful question because I don't like that we have to ask this question, but nowadays, like I said, it's if we don't do anything, it's not about, it's about who's next, to be honest. If nothing is done, you never know if it's here in California or in another state. So Anali, before we end, do you mind sharing?
Yeah, I would also say the same thing. It's just really awful to just even say how students should protect themselves. But we really need to make sure that you're safe at the end of the day, and if it were to occur, like just have this back in your mind. But it, like I said, it's really awful to just have to remember this. But I've looked into a school strategy that they showed on the website, and it's run, hide, and fight. So if you hear a noise that sounds like a gunshot, it's best to run to a safe place. There was like a high school shooting where some kids were locked into a library and there was a back door, and instead of hiding, it would have been best if they left safely from there, because 10 of the 12 people were killed because they were locked down in the library, and they could have run. But that's the first thing. If you can run, and if it's safe to run, it's best to run. And they also note to only just take your cell phone if you have it near you, because if you bring other stuff, the police may think you're the shooter. And it's important to like follow the rules of what the police officer is doing, just so there's no other increasing difficulties. And the second is hide, and it's best to hide like in a cabinet instead of under the tables, anything that can help you hide from the shooter, and turn off the lights and silence your cell phones. And then if you were to meet with the shooter, and this is the last resort, is to fight. Use any chairs, fire extinguishers, anything to disarm the shooter, and then act aggressively as possible against the shooter. And yeah, those are the 3 things to do during that situation, which really sucks to think that that's our last, that's like something that could happen. We're about to end soon. Santy, do you have any last words before we end the show?
All I can say is that if we said something that offended you or that came out wrong, know that in our hearts, this is a really hard topic and very controversial topic to talk about. But again, we're trying to have our voices being heard about some of these incidents that have happened. And we hope that all the resources and what we've said, you can take it and use it in your own way to help and prevent anything further to continue to happen. Again, like I said, if no action is going to be taken, it's not a matter of it's a matter of who's next, and I wouldn't want it that on anyone. And I can't imagine the pains of all the families right now and before, who have experienced all of these shootings, whether it's a school shooting or any other. So be safe out there and hug your loved ones today, every day. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you all for listening to us. Anali?
Yeah, thank you all. And we're just doing this to bring more awareness. And if you have anything else you want to add, any information, please comment on our Facebook. This is just a learning environment for all youth. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys